Hi, I'm Dr. Frank Schallenberger. I'm a medical doctor. I've been practicing medicine for over 45 years now, and today I want to talk to you about a really important topic, especially as you start getting older, and that is how to easily maintain your lean body mass. So first of all, what is lean body mass loss? It refers to muscles and bones specifically, the parts of your body that actually hold you together. The problem is that we lose a lot of lean body mass as we celebrate more and more birthdays. Basically, the statistics show that physically inactive people, which means like 95% of adults, can lose as much as 3 or even as 5% of their lean body mass every decade of their life, starting at the age of 30. So it does start kind of at a young age. A typical man will lose almost 1/3 of his entire lean body mass during his lifetime. Now, hopefully none of you guys will be typical, but that's sort of the issue that we're talking about. Now, how do you know if you're losing lean body mass? Well, you pretty much know it unless you're doing something about it. But you specifically, there are 3 ways you can determine it. One is you can go get yourself a DEXA bone scan. This is a way to assess the strength, not the strength, but this is the way to assess the mass that's in your bones. If you test out well, similar to a 30-year-old, then you're doing pretty well in that compartment. If you don't test out well, then you've got the problem. We need to look into that. Another way to do it is by assessing your percent body fat mass. So the problem is, as you get older, you lose the lean body mass, the stuff that holds you together, and you tend to replace it with fat. So one way to assess your lean body mass is to assess your fat body mass. If it's too high, probably your lean body mass is suffering underneath all of that. And the third, and probably the easiest way, and certainly the least expensive way to assess your lean body mass is look at yourself in the mirror. If you see sagging, if your physique is not what it used to be, or not what it should be, then you can probably diagnose lean body mass loss in yourself. So why is all this bad? It's bad because it leads to weakness and frailty. And these are things that characterize us as we get older. And the problem with that is it limits the quality of your life, limits what you can do. If you want to do certain things, you may not be able to do them if you get to a point where your lean body mass has suffered enough. It leads to frailty. The frailty and the weakness lead to decreased mobility. You can't get around as quite as much as you could. Also, there's a problem with balance. As we get older, our balance tends to get a little bit off. It's not as good as it was when we were younger. And with loss of lean body mass, it just makes all of that worse. It accentuates it and makes it even worse. So all of the above can ruin the quality of your life and limit your physical activity and increase your risk of falls and fractures. And that's important because, as you probably know, falls and fractures can be even deadly in some cases. A recent 2015 report from the American Society for Bone and Mineral Research found that people with sarcopenia, by the way, is the $10 word for loss of muscle mass specifically, had 2.3 times the risk of breaking a bone from a low impact type of fall. Not a hard fall, but a low impact fall. They were more than 2 times more likely to have a fracture if you had sarcopenia. And the likelihood of dying, if you were to fall and break your hip, the likelihood of dying after sustaining a hip fracture can be as high as 60% within the first year. So these things are kind of serious. They limit the quality of our lives, and they can actually cause our lives to end precipitously. So that's why it's bad. What causes it? Well, first and foremost, birthdays. The more birthday candles you're putting on your cake, the more likely you're going to have lean body mass loss. That's just what happens. After you get over the age of 30, you sort of peak out, and from there on, it tends to be a downhill thing. Another cause is lack of resistance training. Resistance training I'm talking about is where you lift weights, weightlifting, push-ups, lifting weights, anything that increases your strength. Most Adults, unfortunately, do not spend nearly enough time doing some resistance training, and that contributes to the loss of lean body mass. A third one is lack of adequate digestion, specifically stomach acid. Now, there are two reasons that you won't have enough stomach acid. One is you just get older. A lot of people, I think it's something like 30% of people over the age of 60, lack adequate amounts of stomach acid. And what happens when you don't have enough stomach acid is you can't break the proteins into their individual amino acids. And I'll talk to you a little bit about this in a second, but the protein itself can't get absorbed. It only gets absorbed when it is fully digested into amino acids. So we'll talk about this in a second. But you need stomach acid to do that. So in the absence of stomach acid, you can eat all the protein you want, but it's not all going to get into your body and get utilized to build up your lean body mass. The other thing, of course, with stomach acid is drugs. A lot of people out there are taking drugs that stop the production of stomach acid. That's automatically going to create a number of problems with people. And here's the problem with that. The majority of people that are on these drugs don't really need to be on them. Most of the time, they take the drugs for heartburn type issues, and that can be corrected simply with a diet and or herbs and or learning how to eat properly and develop good lifestyle habits around that. Now, there are going to be times when you need to take the drugs, and certain people just need to take them. And if that's you, I've got a good answer for you, so hang on here. We're going to get around to that in a second. But that's one of the problems, is these drugs and just getting older. The other thing is you not only need stomach acid to break down the protein so it can be absorbed, you also need pancreatic enzymes. And once again, as we get older, the amount of pancreatic enzymes we have decreases along with everything else. Next, how about diet? Most of us have less than perfect diets. Some of us have really bad diets. Some of us have good diets, but the majority of people, it's less than perfect. You may not be getting the full nutrition that you need out of that. You may not be getting adequate amounts of protein. And so this is another contributor to loss of lean body mass. Next up is hormone deficiency. You need hormones to build up your lean body mass. It's one of the reasons that as we get older, lean body mass loss accelerates. You're going to lose more as you get older every decade than you did when you were younger. And to a large extent, this is because as you get older, your body just stops cranking out the hormones like it used to. And so this can lead to lean body mass. And then finally, there's dieting. Repetitive dieting will do this. Because every time you lose, say you lose 20 pounds of weight, you go on a diet, you lose 20 pounds of weight, some of that weight's going to be lean body mass. The studies show this for sure. And so once you lose that weight, you've lost some lean body mass as well. Then you put the weight back on, you go back on another diet again, you lose it again, you lose lean body mass. So dieting, especially repetitive dieting, it can really contribute to the loss of your lean body mass. So more importantly now, what can we do about it? How can we get to be 70, 80 years old and still have the lean body mass of a young person? Here's the good news, it can be done. So let's look into what we can do to accomplish that. First of all, get it through your head. You need to do regular resistance training. If you're not already doing this, you need to be spending, I would say, 45 minutes minimum, 3 to 4 times a week, working on your muscle strength, working on your bones. In the gym, lifting weights. If you know how to do this, fine, just go do it. If you don't know how to do it, my advice is to hire a personal trainer and get them to show you how to do this properly. This is extremely important. There's nothing else we're going to talk about today that's going to have much of an effect on you in lean body mass unless you incorporate this into your lifestyle, which is really important. So go ahead and do that. Next, hormone restoration. See a doctor who is well versed in how to restore hormone levels to older folks to what the level should be in a younger person. Those are the kind of levels of hormones you want. You don't want the old level of hormones, okay? So see a practitioner that can help you with this and give you the hormones that you need to do the job. Next, good diet. look at your diet. It needs to be balanced. You need to have the right nutritional elements to your diet. I'm not going to get into all that right now. And you certainly need to have a lot of protein in your diet. If you're a vegan or even a vegetarian, you may not be getting the adequate amount of protein. So what I'm about to be talking to you about here in a second is even more important to vegans and vegetarians. But a good diet is incredibly important to accomplish this. Next is digestive supplements. If you suspect that you might have a pancreatic supplement or pancreatic enzyme deficiency or stomach acid deficiency, then go ahead. You can buy these supplements. You can buy stomach acid supplements. You can buy pancreatic acid supplements. And you can go ahead and take those every time you eat, and that'll help you to digest the protein that's already in your food. Of course, if you're on some of these stomach acid producing drugs and you really don't need them, get off them and get on some more natural treatment so that you don't have your symptoms and you don't need these drugs. If you need the drugs, that's different. Hang on, I'll show you a way to get around it. And then finally, what we're really going to focus on here in a minute, and that's amino acid supplements. Okay, so what are amino acids? All proteins are made up of various sequences of amino acids. If you think of a train, and a train is made up of individual cars, and all those cars are different, that's kind of like a protein molecule. It's made up of these amino acid molecules, and they're all, depending on the sequence they're in, and the kinds of amino acids are in there, that will define that particular protein. But here's the point. The protein that you're eating cannot be absorbed all by itself. It has to be digested down into the amino acids. It's the amino acids that get absorbed, not the protein molecule itself. So you can see how important digestion is. You got to digest these protein molecules down into their individual amino acids, or you're just going to waste the protein. And then once absorbed, the body uses the amino acids by either converting them into sugar to be burned for energy, or they can be used to build lean body mass. Of course, what we want them to be used for is to build lean body mass. We're not so interested in having our protein turned to sugar for energy. We can get energy in other ways. We would like our protein mostly to be turned into lean body mass. The problem with dietary protein and protein shakes and all these other sources of protein has to do with a number of factors. One, in order for the amino acids to produce lean body mass, they have to be in the right ratio. This is really important. If they're not in the right ratio, a lot of it's going to get wasted and turned into sugar. And then the problem with relying solely on dietary protein is that it does not provide the optimum ratio of amino acids for lean body mass production. Let me give you an example. The best protein, the protein with the best ratio for lean body mass production is breast milk. And that only has a 50% efficiency rating. So 50% of the amino acids in breast milk are going to go to lean body mass. The others of it are going to go to energy production. And that's the best it gets. From there on, it's down. So that when you get into meats and dairy and those kinds of foods that are high in protein typically, about 70% of them get wasted. In other words, turned into sugar for energy. Only about 30-35% of them actually go into lean body mass. And then you get down into protein powders, it gets even worse. Only about 20% of the amino acids in protein powder contribute to lean body mass production. So a lot of it just gets wasted. The rest of it gets turned into sugar. And that's why I have been prescribing for my patients this powder out that's been out for quite a few years called Perfect Amino XP powder. That's what I want to talk to you about today. Here's the deal with this powder. First of all, it's in the form of free-form amino acids. That means when you go out and buy a protein powder, the whole protein's in there. You still got to break that protein down into the amino acids. You may or may not do this efficiently. But Perfect Amino XP powder is already broken down into the individual amino acids. It doesn't need to be digested. You could be on stomach acid pills. You could have the worst digestion in the world. 100% of this powder is going to be getting absorbed. No digestion is needed. The other thing about this powder that's unique is it has the perfect ratio of amino acids such that virtually all of it gets turned into lean body mass. Less than 1% of it gets wasted and turned into blood sugar. This has a lot of important clinical implications for all sorts of things, from people with various medical conditions to people who have digestive issues, or people who are trying to lose weight and don't want the extra calories you need to take with a protein powder. There's all kinds of reasons why just having this ratio is so important. And basically, all it adds up to is, since it all goes into lean body mass, virtually none of it goes into energy production. So from a net perspective, there's no calories in this. It's perfect for people who are trying to lose weight, for example. So who can benefit from this? Well, you could sort of figure it out. Anybody with a chronic illness. Anybody who's on a weight loss program. Anybody who's into fasting. I personally believe that intermittent fasting is a great way to stay healthy. And that means you fast for 24 hours once or twice a week. It's a great way to be healthy. And during that fast, you can take this powder, and since none of it goes into energy production, it won't mess up your fast. You'll still get the results of the fast, but you won't lose any lean body mass when you do that. Another thing, people who want to recover faster from exercise. I'm 72 now. Last September, I did a ride around Lake Tahoe. That's 80 miles of riding, and that's something like 1,800 feet of climbing. And I was able to do that easily. I took a few scoops of this right before I left. I took a few scoops right in the middle, and I took a bunch of it after I got back from the ride. And I tell you, the next morning I woke up, you would not thought, I didn't feel one ache. I didn't have any problem. So you can recover really fast from exercise if you're a runner or a triathlete or any of this. This has a lot of implications for athletes and people who engage in sports and need to recover quickly. If you need to be on a low protein diet, there's certain medical conditions that require a low protein diet. And this can meet all your needs for your protein, and yet you can still be on a low protein diet. If you take, like I said, if you're taking stomach acid pills, if you have impaired digestion, and of course, if you're over the age of 50, you could probably benefit from taking this powder. Here's a couple of comments that we've had from some people who have taken this powder. These are not people I know. These are people that have just written us in and told us about their experience. This person here says, I love this supplement. All of a sudden, after I start drinking this, I feel like a normal person. I am 90 years old, and am thinking that this perfect amino drink is the reason that I'm feeling this way. Another comment, great product. I do a lot of research on products before I spend my money on them. I am reading that free-form aminos are making protein powders obsolete. I have no expectations before beginning a new product, so I was pleasantly surprised when I began to see and feel a difference. I noticed it I noticed it first in my forearms. My skin smoothed out ever so slightly. The little jiggle I was starting to see was tightening up. My ankles and my feet don't hurt as bad. And it's true. A lot of aches and pains can go away when you get the right amino acids in your body. Here's another quote. I've been taking this product for 3 weeks now, and it's given me a wonderful sense of renewed energy, which I had thought I would never feel again. It does work pretty fast. And then finally, this last quote, I like this one. I am 65 and noticed that I was losing lean muscle mass or muscle strength. I also had lost quite a bit of being overweight in the last few years. This was a blessing, but I noticed that in certain places, such as around my collarbone, I appeared to be sunken, and I feared that I was losing the ground overall balance in my body. Within 1 to 2 months of taking Perfect Aminos, I could really see the difference in addition to increased overall strength. I looked in the mirror one day and I was amazed to see, I told you the mirror is a good way to assess what's going on, that the sunken look had totally changed and filled in with healthy, strong tissue. And we hear comments like this all the time. especially in the older crowd, by the way. How do you take it? It comes as a powder or tablets. I prefer the powder. I just think it's easier to do. I don't like taking a whole bunch of pills. You can get it either way, though. You take 2 scoops of the powder or 10 of these tablets, and you do that anywhere from 1 to twice a day, depending on how often you want to do it. If you're going to exercise or do some sort of strenuous event, you want accelerated recovery, you can even take it more immediately before and after the exercise. It's best on an empty stomach, although you could take it with food. It's best if you take it right after your workout. And it's best if you take it with a little juice. It wants a little insulin push in there from the juice. So my protocol is every morning I get up, pretty much the first thing I do is get some juice, put a couple scoops of the XP in there, shake it up, down the hatch, start my day off. So let's do a little math here. If you were to take 2 scoops of perfect XP powder, that would come out to 10 grams. Okay, if you take 2 scoops per day for six months, that's 180 days. You're putting on 1,800 grams. At 180 times 10 grams, you put in 1,800 grams of body mass. That comes out to about 4 pounds of lean body mass with no net calories. So if you were to start this today, in 6 months, you will not have lost the body mass you're supposed to be losing with just from natural state of affairs. You, in fact, will be putting on lean body mass. You can get this online. I tell my patients to go to advancedbionutritionals.com. They have both the tablets and the powder. And try it out for yourselves. See what you think. I would say, get on it for at least 2 to 3 months. See what you think, and see if you don't feel a lot better. I know I do, and I recover really quickly from this. Okay, that's all I have to say for now, and I'll see you next time.